Hello and welcome to another WeAreDevelopers Live. It's Wednesday again, and today we're going to talk about CSS and what not to do with it and how to actually make it do horrible things. That's why I found my CSConf EU 2014 t-shirt again. I still don't know why they chose that design, but it's interesting that, they still fit. I also have some t-shirts from 2006 that weirdly enough still fit.
That's pretty
Or
impressive.
again, I'm not sure.
Yeah, you've definitely got an impressive collection though of tech-related t-shirts. I'll say that much. I knew that was CSS though. I don't know how. I don't know. I just saw shapes and I knew it was CSS related.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, it's like the coloring books that you get from your wife to keep you busy, right? Like, okay, stay inside the duck and these kind of things. Like, yeah,
I try my best. Yeah.
I love that we all scrambled around to turn on these lights as well, and you turned on the lights, and our guest turned on the light like 2 seconds before the thing started. Nobody's gonna care. Like that's the fun thing about it. But we're all getting super excited about it. Like I'm buying a new house, so hopefully I will soon get into it. And I already bought posters for my new wall and everything. So like all the movies that I like, 2001 and like Clockwork Orange and these kind of things. So there's got to be lots of stuff to look out for in the background, not only my unicorn.
Oh, we have to keep that.
So yeah, that will go. That will come. I mean, I keep feeding it hopes and dreams, so it's actually keeping busy. So that's good. So today we have a friend of mine here again, which we wanted to have a few weeks ago, and he couldn't come, but now he's here, and that's Niels Leenheer. How are you doing?
Hi, great to be here now. Finally, it took a couple of weeks, so I'm sorry for canceling so late last time. But yeah, I kind of was sick, and these things happen. So thanks for having me again, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and you're on the go as well. Like you're going from one conference to another at the moment, so you're in between conferences. You were at CSS Day. Was that already, or?
No, CSS Day is in June. But yeah, last week we had Smashing in Amsterdam, which is a lovely conference, and I spoke there, not at the main Smashing conference, but at a side event. And next week we're going to Düsseldorf to Beyond Tolerant, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, still my favorite conference of all. I can't go this year for the first time in 15 years. I can't go. I was also the first speaker ever at Beyond Tolerant back then, so I have a big connection with that because Mark, the organizer, is just wonderful, and it's a super creative and amazing conference to do just random things and just meet people that did things you see on TV. They had the guy who did all the calligraphy for Apple stores. And like animations, people that worked on TV shows like Spitting Image back then, and these kind of things, and people from Artman Animations. It was just a wonderful, wonderful creative event. And yeah, I'm really bummed out that it's not there. But I promised Mark to get him to Berlin to celebrate in our garden when we have the new house in July. So we'll see him then, or I don't know July which year yet. That depends on the German law system and the government. But yeah, we'll see. Cool. So let's take a peek at some of the bits and bobs I wanted to chat about this week, and then we go deep dive into the kind of weird stuff you've done lately. And I mean, you've always done weird stuff. I remember traveling with you to conferences was always annoying because you had like 5,000 USB tools with you, or like you gave talks about Web USB and Web NFC and these kind of things. And every airport we were like, Niels had this like suitcase full of random things with cables sticking out, and I always had to wait for him an extra half an hour because there was every security check that they did for them. And one time I had all the mobile phones with Firefox OS on them as well, so we both basically in the extra room and getting all our stuff checked. That was just nuts.
Yeah, luckily I have to. I can drive to Beyond Tolerant because, well, I can't take what I'm going to do. I can't take that with me on a plane. That's for sure.
Not bad. Cool. So big thing that happened is Claude Design. So people have wrote about their what they think about it and what they've done about it, and it basically means it's like all the other tools that we have out there that turns prompts into apps and designs. And now it's actually built into Claude. So basically, all these other companies that actually bet on being the only one on the market, basically now are shaking in their little boots. I'm still wondering though, like if it's that easy for people to switch, or if people really want to do that. Because if I use Figma in my company for the last few years and everybody is used to the workflows in there, would you just ditch it for something else? And I mean, Niels, you were around as long as I have. It always feels like every few years there's this dream of like you can create apps on the fly without needing to know any code or any design, and the outcome is never as impressive as they make it to be, right?
Yeah, I started on the web in 1994. So I've seen all of these trends, and in the end, my take is always that just building something by hand is always going to be better than just nowadays with AI, just let it generate something. And of course, we use AI as well, and it works up till a certain point, but knowledge about the platform, knowledge about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is not going to go away, I think. And I do think that some of the companies that are building tools for design are kind of worried about this, that Anthropic is just going to take over. And as somebody who loves design, I'm also kind of worried about it, but for a different reason, because I don't want everything to look the same. And I'm kind of afraid that is gonna happen with this.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's the designs that come out of it, the prototypes that come out of it, like look good, but they look fashionable for a certain amount of time, and then basically you feel like they're becoming more annoying than anything else. I mean, this is great. For example, this image here is done with Midjourney, obviously, and it just feels, what the hell is going on with that keyboard? This is not right. Also, why does it download it?
I think that sums it up though, Chris, is that, from a distance, that image looks fine. And then when you actually look in detail, you very quickly see kind of major problems and things that show quite how bad the LLM actually is, really, because it's done something that looks nice, but isn't, right? It isn't good. And I feel that way about kind of UI decisions. This was actually something I was encountering last night. I'd done something very simple where I'd basically made a couple of pages, largely kind of vibe coded, very simple, just for speed. And then I'd said, compare the two and make sure that kind of inconsistencies in the design are ironed out. And I gave it a couple of examples, and it just cannot really see it, even when it's looking at code. I was giving it a screenshot and the code to kind of see which one it would reference, and it just can't see the differences. And that's the difference, right? Is that you can make something that looks half decent, but a designer will know quite how to kind of make it look professional or empathize with the user. AI just goes for the average, and you end up with something that for most people will look okay. But I think anyone who knows anything about user experience even would say that's terrible. It's very basic.
And my other thing, of course, is like progressive enhancement is kind of out of the window all the time. Like, I mean, for years we try to teach people that your product looks different for different users, and that's okay, because that actually means those users can tweak it to their needs rather than just like your likes. And this is here like the conglomeration of saying like a design package together with code is an app, and that basically is fixed in one state. This is exactly not what the web was. This is exactly why we got from desktop to the web, because we wanted to quickly introduce that and like build interfaces that are changing according to the needs of the user rather than just the looks we want to have out there. So it's an interesting thing that these things happen. I also wonder about the cost of it as well inside Claude. The other drama there as well is that the person that works in Anthropic now that on Claude design used to be on the Figma board and left like a day before or something like that. So that is really, really interesting to see. We got a comment that somebody said like that anything generated with AI is quite far from maintainable. What do we think? I think so too, but I think it's not meant to be maintainable. Like, that's the idea. Like the the wastefulness of regenerating just the thing on the fly again is actually the selling point that we tell people. It was never interesting for companies to say like we write maintainable code because they just want to move quickly and break things and do things new. So I think this is basically an argument that you can't win when you tell people that it's not maintainable, because yeah, but it's also pressing one button with a new prompt gives me a new app, so why should I maintain it?
Yeah, there's a point there. I just thought, Chris, that with that the thing Anthropic's really pushing with this is how it's going to be useful for design systems. And I do think that's something that's kind of missing in general as like a language amongst developers. I think a lot of developers kind of don't think like that. We think about maybe components and things being reusable, but maybe not how it fits into that kind of wider design system. But I do think that it is the issue at the moment with a lot of the LLMs. They don't design a design system. They create new components, like you're saying, from scratch, or new pages that are loosely based on the ones it's just made. It perhaps uses the same colors, but I see just so much inconsistency that I hope that there is some potential in this, that it could at least allow developers to have that as more of a conscious thing, and it'd be easier for them to use and to put in place. But it's whether or not the LLM has to actually think like that in order for that design system to work. If it just generates something new every time, it's not using the design system that it's created. So I'm just curious to see.
So it creates these artifacts on the fly as well. So sorry, Niels, you were saying also.
Yeah, well, the AI is trained, of course, on data, real life data, and well, many websites aren't that great. So whatever it generates is just going to be average as well. Design-wise, it could do so much better if it actually understood design, but it doesn't. That is just an issue, and I don't think that's fixable.
Bring us to the other topic that Adam Argyle here wrote about, like that basically says, explaining why AI sucks at front end, and like yeah, it basically describes like how the problem is that it's trained on ancient garbage, as you just said, like, and it cannot see and it doesn't know why we do things. And I think there's a really good article about the idea about like how you plan a front end as a developer, and as a front end developer, and how you plan it as somebody who just uses a tool. There's two different things there. You know, we want to build on something that's stable and then enhance it and make it better, rather than just build something that is out there and just basically with the click of a button can get regenerated. And it's interesting because whenever I worked on projects and I changed anything in the UI, it was the end of the world for like 50,000 of our users, because they basically immediately complained that everything is wrong as soon as something little changes. And now we're getting into a world where people build like whole new things continuously. Like there isn't even a continuous UX any longer. It's just something we try new things out and we use our end users as guinea pigs to try A/B testing in the live world.
Yeah, and then don't even stick with the results and just do the same thing again next month.
Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting one. This is also a really good read about why it sucks. The other big thing that basically went, that everybody keeps talking about in all the front end mailing lists right now, is that we now have HTML in Canvas. And as Amit points it here, the web is fun again, because now we have all these things where we can have HTML elements inside a Canvas element. They render, and then you can actually use the canvas to alter them and to change them. The idea of Canvas was that it's very much a black box in your website that you basically can plot to. It actually had a good painting API. It had one array that was all the pixels in it that you could read and write. So I've seen people building star fields just by sorting the arrays rather than just doing any plotting at all. And the weirdest thing that I found really amazing was that the coordinate system in Canvas is actually not fixed. So you can paint something on the canvas and then you can zoom and rotate the coordinate system itself. So you don't need to do the math of putting things on a circle. You can just rotate the whole coordinate system under it, which is a mess to get your head around the first time. But once you get that, it's pretty incredible. The problem was that it was a black box and it was not, you cannot select text on it, you cannot copy and paste from it, you cannot actually have any accessibility features of it. And this is what that HTML in Canvas thing now fixes. So you need Google Chrome Canary to try it out. And then you have things like these accessible charts was a nice demo, for example, that allows you now in Canvas to tab through it without actually having to do that by hand in the canvas. The canvas was just empty and everything you had to do was yourself. Like, remember when in Mozilla, when we did the first text editor that was canvas based, we had to reinvent copy and paste, and we had to reinvent selecting the range on the screen. And this is basically much, much better now because you now have that HTML element that you can interact with, and you still have the fancy stuff that Canvas can do under the hood. You got like a frosted glass backdrop, for example, where you can move this around. You can see the frosted glass background here, which I think somebody like Lea Varu or like Anna Tudor can easily do that in CSS as well, whilst being completely incomprehensible and unreadable. But it's you can have HTML video recording on it. You can have HTML to image export, which was interesting because this is really cool. So you can actually do like social media headers and stuff like that now just in HTML. Right click and save as image, because that was always possible with the Canvas API, and that's the really cool thing about that. Rather than having to do it in ImageMagick or use anything on the server side, you can now do that directly in the browser. And I think for those things, it's really, really incredible and really fun to do these things because you can now highlight the text and these bits and bobs like it did before. Mozilla had a HTML background image in CSS at one time that you could point to a reference in the DOM, and it would use it as a background image in CSS. But we had to take it out of Firefox because of security problems, because people copied and pasted passwords that way. So I wonder if this API thought of that, or if that's something that's going to hit us in the next few days, that people are realizing you can actually steal content in the background with that because you're outside of the sandbox. And of course, the other problem with it is that people will do random things with it because they can, which is fun, of course. And it's ironic having Niels here to talk about that, because you're going to see that later. But it's quite interesting that you can do things that we used to do in Flash because we could, not because the end user had any benefit from it, but we actually wanted to do it. So you got like the page curl here, for example, that we've seen from Google Books on Android, and that's now possible in Canvas with HTML as the background. So the text here is HTML, and the Canvas on top just does that, much like you would have done a Canvas as an overlay before. So yeah, lots of opportunities to shoot yourselves in the foot and actually do really, really painful performance stuff. But as Canvas is already performance optimized and GPU accelerated, I think that's the benefit that you have here. So I guess, Niels, you will be all over that, right?
I've been playing around with this, yeah. Now, the page curl is maybe not the use case I looking forward to, but yeah, you can do some really useful stuff with this as well. Not just making things look pretty or shimmer or glass effects, but actual useful stuff for production. So personally, well, I did try something that wasn't really useful. I did create Doomception. So I have this demo that is CSS based Doom, and then I just placed a canvas with an iframe, which also runs CSS Doom. And you can now play Doom inside of Doom, which is, well, why?
Yeah,
because you can. But the more useful things I've been playing with is just recording demos, and I have this clock which has a gravity simulation, and for a talk I needed to have exact frame-based recordings, and that's really easy to do now. You just put everything in a canvas and just get every frame from the canvas and use the video encoder API to create a movie with that. And so for me, it's been really, really useful.
It's quite fun that now Chrome is all over that, seeing that was a WebKit invention originally, Canvas, because it was used in Mac OS X, and it was basically necessary for iPads when it came out. So yeah, but it's interesting that now people are playing lots of stuff with that. So you got ASCII shaders, so you can run shaders on top of HTML content now rather than having to go through these kind of things. So it's pretty incredible what it can do. Will be interesting to see what people do with it. But as you said, like the interaction between video and HTML content is a really, really cool use case and a really useful one. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But this was doing the rounds and everybody was excited about it. So I'm excited about it too, especially as I'm a big Canvas fan. I always talked about Canvas when people did random things with CSS and random things with SVG. But the problem with Canvas was always that it's a pixel box. So it's a fixed environment, a fixed size environment, which to the web is kind of, it's alien to the web. It's a bit like doing Java applets in the browser again, like we did back then, whereas like we don't have anything vector-based like Flash used to be, except for SVG. And SVG feels like strange to actually write unreadable XML to do the vector graphics. So this could be the in-between then as well. It would be interesting to see that one.
Yeah.
Last thing, what I found very interesting is that somebody recognized that the PHP developer base is aging brutally. So now the web is completely dependent on PHP. It's still one of the biggest used platforms out there, and they wonder what can be done about it. I found it very interesting when I was at Typo 3 camp every year for the last 2 years, and they realized that as well, that the open source community about PHP is aging. So what they did an extra camp for Typo 3 maintainers in Fuerteventura. There was also a surfing school. So basically they had like code at night, go surfing during the day, and that's how they attracted new younger people to join the community. So I found that a really cute little way to get more younger people into the things, because if we try to speak the language of young people, that's just going to be embarrassing, not really exciting or getting them into the thing. But yeah, PHP is not. We had friends on the show here. PHP is bloody amazing, and it has gone leaps and bounds since it became this like stupid page generator thing. So it's still an interesting language to look at. Of course, Python does everything PHP does as well, and also AI. So that's why people don't go for it. But yeah, in terms of as a freelancer, if you want to do maintenance stuff and be seen in the future, it's probably a good language to look into, because a lot of stuff of PHP will be maintained in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but not by these old people.
I think the problem is applies to open source in general. But with AI now, taking hold, it's much less cool to write your own code, which personally I don't think that. But especially PHP hasn't been cool for like 20 years, and even though it's really useful, I use it on a day-to-day basis, and I love PHP, but it isn't cool, and it doesn't attract young programmers, and yeah, it definitely is an issue, and I hope they can attract more developers.
Now let's talk about some weird and geek things. I found that one fascinating. Somebody, oh come on. Somebody stored data in his mouse. If my mouse wouldn't break right now, I could also show you. Excellent. So it turns out that there is actually lots of hardware inside the mouse. So they actually found a way to store it as a processor, as an extra processor, and like the code is there. It's the mouse file system, and yeah, it's the DPI register stored 2 bytes of data as long as the mouse stayed powered. So it's only 2 bytes. But like, I love that. I mean, this is all what you're about as well. As soon as you connect it with a cable to the machine, you want to do something with it.
I love
And
this.
this is quite...
This is just, I love this.
Brilliant.
It's completely useless, but yeah, it's there. So why not do that?
This I showed Dan just to get him excited about things. And this has been around for a long, long time, but now it's got an own domain. And this has been like a collaborative arts thing. I guess a beta in like 20 years ago. So people, artists basically get the last frame from the first one and the next frame, and then actually make an endless quilt of images here. And this is just, I mean, it doesn't rotate, so it's not fully 3D and stuff, but it's just really, really beautiful how it actually became a thing that just doesn't end. It's just like beautifully done. And of course, it's a matter of like stitching it properly. And yeah, I just love the creativity of it. It's just, this is kind of stuff that gets me excited because, hey, I could probably do that, but you see this is done by hand. You know, like you realize that.
Did you get to the end?
No, I didn't, and I didn't try. So I'm not that much too worried about it. The other thing that what someone did, which I found very fascinating, is that he installed every single Firefox extension there is on one browser. So 8 of them didn't mention 2, but it's 84,000 Firefox extensions, and he installed all of them in one browser and then described what happened to the machine. And I'm fascinated by that kind of stuff because the amount of times when I worked on Firefox or also on Edge, people complained about the performance of the thing, and they had like 5 different ad blockers competing for the DOM access before it even rendered the pages. Yeah. It's not surprising, but this is just pretty much mental, you know. But yeah, I didn't do it by hand. He wrote a script.
Wow. It's not very many, though. You know, did it surprise you that, because I mean, it says there as well, that sounds feasibly small, the 84,000, but that did surprise me. I just thought there would be so much more, even if just 84,000 of them were just pure slop. You know, I'm surprised it's that lower number.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really hard to make them findable as well. I mean, it's not an app store, it's an extension store, and that one is already overwhelming with 84,000 of them. But yeah, it would be also interesting to do like a security scanning at the same time of all of them and see just how many of them are malicious and what they do. But yeah, it's like I'm very much only a few extensions. I mean, what I have here, I got like I've got a blocker and I've got the accessibility insights extension, and that's about it. And the rest I do with DevTools. But yeah, people are just really, really hammering their machines with those. But this is a fun exercise as well. This was interesting. He actually explained like how why he doesn't chain everything in JavaScript anymore. And I remember when jQuery came out and people started writing JavaScript like that as well, and everything became a chain. It became really hard to maintain. I mean, you can comment out bits just by commenting on the line, so that was a really good thing about it. But like your brain trying to guess where the data goes and what it does is actually sometimes heavier than just having more readable code that actually uses a few variable names and stores things and caches things in between. So this is also his argument here. Now, Dan, you get into JavaScript later. Is this something that when you started, is it just like .this, or did you also start with like variables and caching bits and these kind of things?
Yeah, I think I made a conscious effort, though, not to kind of go for any shorthand syntax. Like when I was kind of seeing things early on, if I would see these really concise, kind of quite satisfying 1 or 2 liners, you know, with lots of chaining, it would look intriguing because I didn't know what it was. But I also kind of knew from elsewhere that that's usually not a good thing. And that I think could be like in music almost. If you're going to learn a song, you could learn it by ear. But you're probably getting a few things wrong, and you're better off learning the proper kind of sheet music, you know. And I think of it like that I would always rather learn the long form way, and I only really want to find shortcuts if it's not going to catch me out down the line. And I think that's the kind of point of this article is that I think sometimes there is a focus on which is ironic considering that so much of what we talk about is kind of generating slop, but there is sometimes a focus for developers on having these kind of clean, concise one-liners, but they're just unreadable. And I think that it's a bit like someone trying to play something that's very technical on guitar, but doesn't sound very good. I think of it like that, it's always about balancing the two. How about you, Niels?
I think it's when it starts becoming unreadable, then you definitely should not chain everything together. But for 1 or 2 lines or 3 lines, just when the input and the output is clear, that I love chaining things together. But yeah, you can do too much, definitely. And I think the article also gives some guidelines with what is usable, what is not usable, and okay, I kind of agree with him. Yeah.
And it's got lead views. Look at that. That was interesting. There's one YouTube video that is from Futurama that's about the neutral planet, where it's like, I don't have any idea whatsoever. And for 20 years now, people have been upvoting and downvoting that video. So the upvotes and downvotes are always the same number. So I love that people put this extra effort into unusable things. It's just great. This is an interesting one because my site really sucks at that. Cloudflare has this tool that allows you to check if your site is agent ready, and basically what bots can find and how bots can do these things and how to improve the score. So I might actually go through it and actually find out what else I can do to make sure that bots are happy as well and not only humans. Let's see what WeAreDevelopers is doing.
Cloudflare is doing some
Probably better.
stuff. We have mentioned it before, but these tools that Cloudflare is coming out with, there's a lot that they're doing at the moment around kind of trying to protect the future of the web and people protecting their ownership of their content. And yeah, another tool here. It's really cool.
Yeah, and they also explain in a longer article what the agent readiness score is. Might be fun to actually meet some of them and actually talk to about it. Dan and me are going to be in the Silicon Valley the first week of May. So we're going to do a lot of like on-site video recordings with people. So we're talking to Zoom. We're going to be talking to so far the other one is
Twilio's on the
Twilio is the one. Signal maybe, we're not quite sure yet. So it might be interesting to do that. Would be fun to actually meet with Cloudflare as well and also Anthropic, but they haven't answered my emails yet. But it's fun that actually they come up with these things and like, is my site ready kind of thing. Also, the question is like, do you want your site to be ready to actually hoover up all the content or not? But it's a good thing that we have a tool for it. That also is interesting. The Slopcop is a text editor that's a bit like the ones that I use, like EditGPT and Hemingway, which actually tells you like, this is obviously written by an AI, so don't use that kind of language. And I found that kind of cool to actually copy and paste things in and then realize like, okay, I just sounded like a bad salesperson from California from 1982 on drugs, which is how ChatGPT writes. But yeah, it's an interesting thing that it actually does the overlay and say like, okay, rewrite this to make it throat clearing opener, explains overused intensifier, and it has a nice little language in for itself as well to be like ironic about it at the same time, really helpful for it. So that's pretty nice.
I haven't tried it yet with my writing, but I'm kind of afraid that it makes me look like a bot. And I do write my own stuff, but it's yeah, I just think like for example, like the EM dash. You shouldn't use the EM dash anymore because it makes you look like you're an AI bot. And I think that's terrible advice because it's AI uses the EM dash because people use the EM dash. It just repeats what people use, and there isn't a secret tell that AI is generating something. It's just repeating what people use, but yeah, some things AI is very clearly visible, but it's not the EM dash.
Yeah, and it's proper typography, much like you use a halib instead of three full stops to do to end the sentence. Like you should use these kind of things to actually make people happy that they put these things in their fonts that they can actually use it. But I mean, it gets overdone. I mean, I had a job offer yesterday that somebody sent to me out of the blue, and it was basically like 3 bullet points, ellipse everywhere, and emoji on every line on the bullet point in a job description. And I'm like, no, this is just like horrible. Like I can't even. I'm overwhelmed just by the annoyance of it, how it tries to be like salesy whilst it's a job description. Just tell me how much you pay me and if I can work from home, and then we can talk, but that's about it. Like the rest is like, I don't want 5,000 emoji and maybe not an animated GIF. I've seen people try to contact me and send just memes as the first thing, and then a CV attached to that. And you're like, no, these are 2 different things. It's a bit like when I went to a job interview and I saw a beer pong table. I turned around and left because I don't want to join a fraternity. I want to join a company. Like it feels like this is trying too hard to be a family for me, and I have a family I don't talk to, so I don't need another one to actually do. So it's interesting to see. But Slopcop, good idea to run your things then. Then of course, if you want to get happiness, there's JS Paint, which is basically Microsoft Paint in JavaScript. And I don't know why my machine is dying here, but okay. And it's basically, it does the thing, and it's on GitHub, and the source code is available, and you can embed it into other pages as well. So you can embed JS Paint there as well. And if you do the About page, it explains how it's done it, how you can embed it, and all the things that are in there. About. And what I love is the design of that page as well.
It's really appropriate, yeah.
And he has on the all the way on the bottom, he has buttons for you to use, like JS Paint and done with Windows 7 and these kind of things. And that makes me happy. That reminds me of like horrible times, but at the same time fun times. And I also love that he has no qualms about styling the scroll bar here. It just like looks really terrible but wonderful at the same time.
Amazing. So much nostalgia.
This was another tool that I sent to you, Dan, to take a peek at. It's basically that one allows you to write videos with HTML and JavaScript and generate videos. So you don't record your HTML, but you actually use HTML and JavaScript as an automating scripting language to do these kind of things. And I found that really cool. It's a fun thing. Have you played with it so far, or?
No, I've taken a look at it, and I think it's really promising actually, because there's quite a lot of these kind of things that come around, and I think we've seen before. A lot of them are just sort of FFmpeg kind of wrappers. Basically, they'll fork it and put a couple of things in there to kind of trick you almost into using it when you're actually just using FFmpeg. This one though seems interesting because it's kind of focusing mostly on the idea of these kind of products display kind of videos. So I think they're trying to target the kind of vibe coder types potentially, which seems a bit weird because it's focused on HTML. So it's kind of, if you're a vibe coder, you don't really care. You just want to make a video. But I do really like it as an idea because I think that there's a lot of space for this programmatic kind of video creation. And it's always going back to things like Figma. It's the same thing, right? There's this kind of space for a programmatic kind of place for developers to work with video and design, and it's never quite been figured out the best way to do it. So this is promising. It's really interesting.
This is weird. It's a video and audio at the same time. Like, holy crap. Like, what? Yeah. Like, why is... Okay. I guess it's because it wants a background music or something and not render it directly into the MP4. But yeah, it's interesting to see. So, yeah. Okay, so we got that. So I think we're going to one more thing before we go into your Niels show and show us what you do, and that is a segment that we have called Fake or News. So I collected news headlines or maybe made them up, and you have to tell me if they're real or not. So let's play Fake or News. All right. Mozilla invents new video format that's 300% smaller, but only Firefox can read it.
I would guess it's fake, but nowadays you can't tell. but
Must be fake.
yeah, I think fake.
It is fake.
Just in time.
A London judge says a witness was being coached in real time through smart glasses.
Oh yeah, definitely true.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
Yeah.
We feel
Yep.
confident.
Qualcomm's next chip contains embedded blockchain for DRM purposes.
Not even quite sure.
Sure. Sure.
Let's go for news.
No, it's fake.
Oh,
Google
It
is
could be
using old
true.
news. Google is using old news reports and AI to predict flash floods.
It feels real.
yeah, it feels real. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is real. Shoe company Allbirds is turning into an AI compute provider.
I think I heard this. I think it's true.
Yeah. There was something in the news.
Yeah,
I
I think
think.
so.
Yeah.
RTX 5090 graphics card now comes with its own cooling tower and requires 3-phase power.
I'm gonna say fake, but this could be true as well.
I'm thinking the same.
It's fake.
Yeah.
All US social security numbers may need to be changed following a massive breach that is already being investigated as a national threat.
Whoa. That's really big, right? If that's news. Have you heard about it?
I haven't heard about this, but I'm not sure if they're gonna change it. Just let it be out there.
It is news, but I think they fixed it somehow that they don't need to do it anymore. GitHub Copilot to introduce legacy mode for maintaining COBOL and Fortran systems.
I don't think so. A lot of work.
Yeah, I think it's fake.
Must be. Oh,
Sadly
Julia
enough,
Yeah.
PHP is going to be the next one, and Julia talked about that here. Bluetooth tracker hidden in a postcard and mailed to a warship exposed its location.
Yeah, this is a true thing.
It seems that, yeah.
Yeah, it's a Dutch. It was a Dutch warship actually. $5 Bluetooth thing hacked it.
Yeah.
AI models will secretly scheme to protect other AI models from being shut down. Researchers find.
I'm skeptical.
I don't think they are aware yet. So
Yeah.
It's actually news. It turned out that they actually try to do that. Zoom's new AI summarizer only generates plausible sounding fake meeting notes.
That sounds like a you headline, Chris. I think it's fake.
yeah, I think so too.
It's fake. Man with I hacked the government Instagram account tells judge I made a mistake.
Feels real.
Let's go with real. Yeah.
It is actually real. And I love that. I mean, imagine you're in court and you get done for this. You're like, well, I caught myself, I hacked the government. Like, yeah, okay, that might have been a bad idea. Like, in retrospect, I wouldn't do that any longer. Yeah, the Allbirds thing really fascinates me because, I mean, during COVID year, I only wore my Allbirds all year. They're really great shoes, but the quality has gone down, I think, over the last few years. They don't last as long. And they more or less went bankrupt. So they basically now pivoted into be an AI company doing AI storage instead of shoes. And I guess that's a thing that is possible for startups these days. So that's fun to do. Yeah, the Bluetooth tracker thing is also very, very fascinating to me. And yeah, also the smart glasses in court. That's going to be an interesting one. I always wonder why we still have these court painters that do these really weird paintings instead of, because photography is not allowed. But this feels so odd that this is a thing still, you know?
Do you have that in Germany and in the Netherlands as well? Do you have the same?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do.
All right. Huh.
Yeah,
Strange.
really bizarre. Cool. So let's talk about what you've been doing. And the big thing that did the rounds, where we wanted to have you on the show when you were sick, is you did Doom in CSS. And basically, it showed a few rendering bugs in browsers and stuff. It's on GitHub. And yeah, it starts with the things that I normally torture people with at Code 100 as a challenge, or show to Dan, and he's like, "Why would I need this?" Or I show to my partner, and she's like, "Just you're weird." But yeah, so what did you do there? You basically, you don't have a camera, you move the whole scene around, and you use the translate 3D and the depths of field stuff in CSS to render each pixel as a div.
Yeah. So well, not each pixel, but so what I did was basically, well, the story starts a little bit earlier. I was building Doom on an oscilloscope. Well, actually, I was building a clock on an oscilloscope, and I figured I
see that a lot. There's so many job offers out there for oscilloscope clock rendering.
Yeah, that's probably one of the projects I'm definitely going to get hired for. Yeah. No, but so I had this data basically lying around from an old project, and I thought, I have the vectors for the walls, and I have the vectors for the enemies, and for the objects, and nowadays you can do math in CSS like sinus and cosinus and tangents and stuff like that. I could probably use that data and then well, put it in CSS and transform divs, and that quickly got out of hand and spiraled into a 2-week-long obsession with creating Doom in CSS, and it actually works. Well, like you said, there are some rendering issues in some browsers, but largely it just works. I can pick up my phone and just play Doom now. Well, most of the things are not really new, because CSS 3D transforms are things like are created in 2011 or something like that. So it's not new, but that you actually can do the calculations in CSS, that is pretty new. So what I basically did is take the raw coordinates from the Doom WAT file and just put that in CSS as custom properties, and then just calculate everything in CSS. And that works well. You can basically create a 3D scene, a static scene that has all the walls with the textures, and it basically required some high school math to do that. Yeah, it works really well. You're doing this in Chrome, and there's a bug in Chrome that kind of screws things up. Yeah. And every div has a texture, and it has a width and a height that is calculated, and the CSS transform. And you have doors that are animated using CSS animations, and yeah, there is fireballs. Those are basically HTML elements that are spawned, and then have a CSS animation to go from one coordinate to the other one. And yeah, it was a lot of fun making this. Just basically the proof of concept. But then I actually had to write JavaScript to create the gameplay, and I used an LLM for that.
Okay.
Because it's not an interesting subject. The CSS was the most interesting part for me.
It seems to be not the most efficient way to do a 3D environment in a browser, but I guess if you have a hammer, everything looks like a thumb, right?
Well, it's for CSS. No, it's not the most efficient way to do this. No, for Doom, no, that definitely not. But still, it shows what is possible, and even in small ways, this technique is there. You can use that. That's not an issue. And not everybody has to render thousands of divs in 3D space and run into these rendering issues. If you if you want to use simple 3D objects in a web page, there is no need to go with WebGL or WebGPU or something like that.
I always found the race condition interesting in terms of CSS and performance things. Like, for example, I remember people used background images on divs instead of images in HTML because image is an own foreign object. So it has like a load handler and an error handler and all the different things. So it uses much more memory than a background image on a div does.
Yeah.
Except when the background image is too big and actually doesn't have any width and height defined, then it actually spawns a lot of uses up a lot of memory either. A lot of people create pixel art in CSS using drop shadow instead of just background color, and that is absolutely atrocious to the rendering engine. But it seems like a very simple thing to do because you can stack as many drop shadows on an element as you want to. So you just keep creating random things in there.
I've done experiments where I created the whole website with just one element and a drop shadow. It's horrible. Don't do that.
Who was the other Dutch person that doesn't have a life that came up with the HTTP header rendering that basically had the HTML page in the HTTP header? Was that Bramos? No, it was.
I think it was Anna van Kesteren.
Yeah, exactly. That basically the page had no source code. It was just everything was in the HTTP header itself and rendered a page.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, okay. So I guess you that did the rounds. I mean, I saw it in so many newsletters, that CSS Doom thing. Like, did you get pull requests? Did people contribute? Did people just look at you and like weirdly?
Well, they mostly look at me weirdly, yeah. But not so much pull request or no, but yeah, it's not something I plan on maintaining. It's just putting that out there for fun and finding a few bugs to fix the issues in the browsers and basically it was just an experiment for me to find out how CSS is doing right now with all the new anchoring positions and so for me it was just fun. And
it's a great test platform. It's a great way to actually punish the browser and see what's going on in terms of. I remember there. I mean, I did a lot of stuff in the demo scene, and there used to be this this benchmark for PCs that was a demo that you just looked at, and it actually punished your machine in the background, and then it gave you a log about how fast your computer is. This could be something for CSS engines as well. We always used Anatudo's demos to actually check the CSS renderer of Edge, what it can do and what it can't do. But this is on a different level. This is quite fun. I saw this one as well the other day, and somebody made a text adventure of Doom, ironically in Unity for some reason. But this is basically, you can then say just like left or right, and it describes the whole things inside the Doom map file as text that you can actually just play around and go left, go right, shoot, pick up things in like text. It takes ages to load. And yeah, that's basically it. So you can get the text. Military station on Phobos has run a bit of a problem. And then you can say like you go north, you go east, and it actually has atmospheric sound and everything, but it's only a text adventure. Why it actually uses Unity, I don't know. But it's been a running gag in our newsletter about Doom. Like basically everything that can run Doom is basically a computer. People put it on like electric toothbrushes. There's one that actually a Petri dish actually played Doom, like different things in a Petri dish the other day. So people try that, and it's great that a product that was a very commercial product is just so open now that everybody just plays with it and uses it. And it's cool to take these sine and cosine and all the math functionality in CSS through its paces as well, because oftentimes people are not wondering why they're in there, but there are use cases, and this is one of them. Now, the other bit that you talked about on LinkedIn, which I found hilarious, was a CSS flamethrower. And basically, you have the video here where it actually, where you have all the things in your house and you add the flamethrower to it as well, and safety is off, or probably. And it's actually a flamethrower in your garden that you control with JavaScript, or how do you do that?
Yeah. So this started as kind of a joke. I was in a train
You don't
on
say.
the way. Hmm?
You don't say.
Yeah. I was in a train and I was browsing AliExpress for cheap things, and then I spotted this flamethrower, and it was cheap, and it was just the press of a button. And then 2 days or 3 days later, I arrived home. It was standing there on my coffee table. So I just had to do something with it. And it talks a protocol called DMX, which is used for stage lighting and smoke machines and stuff like that. And so I figured I could probably create something that translates between the web and DMX. And there are USB converters. So I used web USB to talk to the device, and I could basically get it started. And then the whole thing was about trying to integrate CSS into it, with lights and smoke machines and flamethrowers and laser projectors and all that kind of stuff. And so it is now controlled by CSS. So it's basically there's fake DOM elements for the flamethrower, and you can target that using an ID with the ID of the flamethrower, and just write some CSS to get it to well, turn the safety off and up the flame height, and it's all custom properties. Because sadly enough, there isn't a CSS specification for this. That is something that we probably should look into. But yeah, custom properties, and it continually samples the fake DOM elements for the styles it has, and when the style is something that should trigger the flamethrower, it does that, and it works just perfectly.
I'm very much, and this is going to be shown at Beyond Tellerrand, I guess, as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
I
Well,
always
not the
love
flamethrower
that.
itself. That isn't allowed in Germany. No.
I just love that CSS custom properties are such a 3D object that basically, in terms of dimensions where you can access it from CSS, you can access it on the element, on the root of the element, and you can change it with JavaScript. So it's a great way to hand over from JavaScript to CSS without actually needing to know either of those languages. And I think that's the real power of it. And people don't understand it, that it's just not like variables are in SAS or in less, but actually that these are living things that can change all the time. And I think it's amazing that you can.
It makes CSS kind of like a state machine.
Yeah,
that can hold state and well, you can read it out again and use it again for other things.
And that's the fun bit. I mean, if you put the effort in, like Niels does and other people does as well, there's so much cool stuff to find in these web technologies that you can actually play with and abuse in this fashion. But it's just a matter of like generated code, not ever thinking about going that far. I like your T-shirt. Give me a break. I just in our new I'm doing this newsletter every Friday, and we're using a tool for creating it because newsletter HTML is not fun. And I found that when you do a line break in there, it actually generates a BR element with area hidden equals true, which is the most useless thing I've ever seen, because a BR is not actually sent to a screen reader. It's just a line break. It's a visual element. It's not actually, or maybe does it actually stop a use? I guess a screen reader sees it as white space.
I guess so.
But why would you do a line break and then say area hidden equals true? Mm-hmm. That's basically like, then don't do the line break. It feels very bizarre that these things get generated, but like, it's always fun to see you pushing the boundaries in terms of accessing things outside of your computer. I mean, the next thing would be once the flamethrower set your house on fire, you probably get like the Roomba to clean it up from the same script or something like that. That might be that. But yeah, it's fun that you do that in your free time, or basically. I mean, you also, what I always love about you is your main job is you're still running that company that does, what do you do again?
We make software for hair salons, and that is probably the most sane thing on my resume. But it's yeah, it pays the bill, and it's a good job, and allows me to create stuff like flamethrowers in CSS and smoke machines and laser projectors, and yeah.
That's what I love about it. You happy sized your development environment. You're basically, this pays the bills. I'm necessary for it. I could hand it over to somebody else. An AI agent is probably not going to replace you anytime soon to go through all these hairdressers and fix the hardware on their in their locations. So that's a great thing. Like, and that maybe is a good advice for people as well. There, like, don't just try to be like the inventor and the cool new super hacker that gets hired by Anthropic tomorrow and Meta the day after. Just find something that pays the bills, and then just do some random things on the side to keep you happy. You can have both, and I think that's the bit that I loved you following your heart with that all the time and showing that there is more things out there. God, your NFC a label printer talk where you talked about all the standards that are there or non-standards that are there, that was quite fun as well. Like, the going into hardware and finding out the protocols that run different hardware, that's a totally different kind of hell out there, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's not like there is a standards body that is creating a same standard like HTML or CSS, and even that is sometimes. But yeah, things like receipt printer languages, that is just terrible. It's just nightmare stuff. But it's still fun to play with, and I'm happy to work on those kind of projects as well. Yeah.
I feel like as well,
just to put them.
Just the stereotype of like, can you fix my printer? I feel like you actually could fix my printer, Niels, which is really nice to know.
I'm happy to help. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Rage Against the Machine never defined what machine it is, but I think it was a printer.
It's a printer. Yeah.
Yeah. So true.
So cool. Well, we're at the end of the hour. It was great to meet you again, and it's also great that you do these things and then you just publish them, because nobody can stop you from publishing them on the web, and that's the fun thing of the web. So I hope you have a blast at Beyond Tellerrand. Tell everybody I love them that is there, and hope interesting to see what you're going to do next, and where you're going to put CSS variables into the physical world. Any last messages you have for people out there?
Just be creative and just try new things out.
Cool.
Perfectly said.
Well, Daniel, what's your final word of the day?
I don't think I can say it any better. One word, you know me, I can't do that. But creative, yeah, I'm with you on that, because I think, Niels, that's something we talk about every week, that we have so many different people doing so many different interesting things. But the stuff that really interests us is the weird and wacky stuff. So yeah, we're always happy to see some of your weird, wacky, and wonderful stuff on the show.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, so we're gonna be next week here again. The week after, we're not gonna have a WeAreDevelopers Live, because we're gonna be in the Silicon Valley, which is another lifetime and time of live recording, not lifetime, but okay, it was another lifetime because I haven't been there in 10 years, so it's gonna be interesting to see how everything changed. But yeah, see you soon in the newsletter. See you, Niels, on stage, and it's gonna be great to have. It's always great to have you. Please come back when you've got the next weird thing going, or we just dig up some old things and talk about that one.
Absolutely.
But maybe.
Love to be back.
Cool. Thanks very much. This was WeAreDevelopers Live for today.